Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So today we're going to be going through my end of the regular season pre-playoffs top lane tier list in the LCS. What you're looking at on the screen right now is how I ranked all of the LCS top laners before the season started. This was before the lock-in tournament even. This was pretty much right after free agency, right after we pretty much knew who the top 10 starting top laners in the LCS were going to be. This is how I ranked them. And throughout this whole week, leading up to the first week of the LCS playoffs, I'm going to be going position by position. We have Monday through Friday. That's 5 days. We got 5 positions to get through. The LEC playoffs doesn't actually start until next week. So then next week, I will be doing this with the LEC as well. But this week, it's all about the LCS. I'll still have my regular videos where I cover stories and everything, but each day we're going to be putting out a different position, and then again we'll do the position for the LEC next week as well. So do not worry, LEC fans, it's just we got an extra week to kind of break down and digest everything that happened in the LEC since the playoffs don't start for another week. But LCS, hey, I got a quick turnaround. They're starting right away. So again, this is how I ranked them previously before the regular season. Now after the regular season, I'm going to be shuffling these all around, giving my thoughts and opinions about every player, where I'm ranking them, and then hopefully getting the thoughts and opinions of you guys as well. But before we get into this, I just wanted to mention real quick, it is that time of the video to take a second and smash the like button. I would appreciate it so much. One, it really helps me know what kind of videos you guys like, but then it also helps me with the YouTube algorithm as well. Tier lists have been some of the best videos on my channel, other than like rumors and news stories and speculation and stuff. So hopefully you guys do enjoy these. Hopefully, these videos do well. We aim for like 100 likes on videos like these. So if you check the likes, if it's under 100, run it up. If it's above 100, yeah, all right. With that being said, let's get right into this. Video is going to be a little bit longer, obviously, since we got to cover all 10 of these players, talking about all of them, so we will get started. We're going to start at the bottom with Niles. Coming into the season, I did not know much about this guy. Obviously, this was a player coming in from the collegiate scene, Maryville University. I know that they are historically one of the best, if not the best, collegiate program and one of the best amateur teams to play on. If you are someone to be coming from the amateur scene, from the collegiate scene, skipping over academy, going into the LCS, coming from Maryville is one of the best places to do something like that. They have the best coaching staff. Usually, they have the best players. Usually, they have the best results. Usually, they recruit the best of the best. They try to get the best of the best. So it really did prove that Niles was kind of like a top tier amateur player. Now, does being a top tier amateur player mean that you are just going to be able to skip over to the academy scene and come into the LCS and not only just do that, but then be good in the LCS as well? I did think it was very, very unlikely. I thought it was a risk that Golden Guardians was taking, not only doing this with Niles, but doing it with Iconic as well. Not only having two very, very young, inexperienced players, but then pairing them up together, not really giving if you have a new top laner, maybe you want a strong, experienced jungler for him to work off of, to help him out. You're throwing two guys out to the wolves. Not only individually is that going to be difficult for both of them, that's going to be difficult for both of them when they're paired up and put together. And that's why I had Niles ranked as the worst top laner coming into the season. One, because I didn't know much about him, so I couldn't rank him too high. But then two, just the whole situation from a basic analytical perspective did not necessarily seem like it was going to be very conducive to success. But I was happy that it was happening because I was very curious to see what was going to happen. I wanted to see where some of the top tier collegiate and amateur players would stack up when they got to the LCS. Now the answer, now that we've seen a split of this so far, is not very well. Coming into the season, I had Niles ranked as the worst top laner in the league, and I am keeping him there. I'm keeping him in the F tier. I think this split has been very, very ugly for him. He's had some of the worst laning stats in the league. I think he's been one of the worst laners in the league. Not the worst, though, which is, good. This is a talented guy. I'm not trying to completely shit on him. I'm just saying I don't think he's quite LCS level yet, and I think he would really benefit from some more time in academy. And I guess in these videos, that's what this F tier is going to be. F tier to me means not quite LCS tier, not quite LCS level, would benefit potentially from some more time in the LCS. It doesn't mean that these guys, it means they're not good, but it doesn't mean that they're doomed. They're going to suck for eternity. You could absolutely go back to academy, learn some stuff, get better. And I think Niles, obviously a young, inexperienced guy, could benefit from that as well. And I think they're kind of doing a disservice throwing him out into the LCS. But it's been a great experience. I'm sure he's learned a lot this year. He has had some highlight moments. He can be a very, very good player, but they've been few and far in between. Bad laning, bad mid games, bad late games, gets caught out, dies a lot, loses team games a lot. I have not been very impressed with Niles. Next up, let's talk about Fate God. Now, this is a guy we had previously seen in the LCS playing with 100 Thieves. That was a while ago. Was it last year? Was it 2 years ago? I'm not sure exactly when that was, but it had been a while. And he hadn't looked very good. He was a young guy coming in as a rookie, and that's tough. And Soligo was in the same spot for 100 Thieves, and it didn't necessarily work out. Yes, 100 Thieves had plenty of their own issues, but it just didn't seem like he was up to par. It didn't seem like he was necessarily ready for the LCS at that time. But then he went back to Academy, and he was pretty damn good in Academy. One of the best Academy top laners, but I was still in that position where I was like, when I was ranking him coming in the preseason, I was like, still, is an Academy top laner going to be able to come in and just be better than all these LCS guys, or these? There's a ton of veterans on this list and stuff. And then the other guy coming from Academy, I mean, not Revenge, but the other guy coming from Academy, Fudge, who was the best Academy top laner. He's not going to be better than Fudge, right? He's not going to be better than like Hooni or something. So that's why I had him ranked a little bit lower. I did have him in the F tier. I thought it'd be kind of the same old for a guy like Fate God. I'm sure he did learn some stuff over that time. And again, I think Academy can be a great place to learn and develop. But now we've seen him and Dignitas put together a really, really crazy string of games, which right now has them atop, not atop, but towards the top of the LCS standings. And I don't necessarily think they are legitimate contenders. I do still think they are kind of pretenders in that top tier of teams. And I do think as the season goes on, they will start to fade. I'm talking about into summer season where your record does carry over. They're coming off thrashings against Cloud9, thrashings against Team Liquid, where I think people are starting to kind of figure them out a little bit. And honestly, a lot of their wins have been very, very close games that they've eked out that they probably shouldn't have won. But Fate God has been very, very solid. He has not been great. He has not been one of the best top laners in the league by any means, but he has been very, very solid. He has had some good lane phases. He has had some bad. He's had some good games. He's had some bad. He's won some games for his team. He's lost some games for his team. So I don't want to celebrate too much what Dignitas has done. It has been very, very impressive. But again, even in a lot of their wins, a lot of their players have looked shaky. But with that being said, I will be moving Fate God up into the B tier. I was very, very wrong about him. He has surprised me a lot. He has impressed me a lot. Again, I don't think he's necessarily in that upper echelon of top laners, but I do believe he is LCS level. I do believe he belongs in the league, and I think he has proved that to me and to a lot of other people this season who kind of wrote off him and Dignitas coming into the year. Then we have Revenge. This is a guy, again, previous Academy top laner. This is a guy who, unlike Fate God, unlike Fudge, did not necessarily excel in Academy. He was always very solid, and people have always seen him as a big talent. Obviously, a guy who's consistently ranking towards the top of solo queue, a very, very strong just player. And when he came into the league, I believe it was his very first game of the season. He had an Aurelia game into Alfari where he solo killed him and then just kind of carried and stomped the game. And it looked like to a lot of people that Revenge had arrived, that he was going to maybe be a carry top laner in the LCS. Unfortunately, things went downhill pretty much right after that for Immortals and for a lot of their team as well. Revenge started out the season very, very high, and it's kind of just gone downhill from there. Revenge is a guy who I currently do not believe to be LCS level. I think he has had a very, very rough split. I think he has been better than Niles in some ways. He has been worse than Niles in some ways. I don't know. I think this is another guy who would maybe benefit from some Academy time. He is a player who can maybe develop into something in the future. Again, he is for sure talented, but has he really shown it consistently for Immortals? No, but again, he does play on a bad team where it can make you look a little bit worse and stuff, but I think he's been a big part of their struggles and stuff as well. So I have not been a big fan of Revenge. I've not been super impressed by him. I had him in the F tier to start out, and I'm definitely leaving him there for now. So of the F tier, I predicted 3 guys in the F tier to start the season who were maybe not LCS level. After a split, there's still 2. I wasn't too off there. But we'll get to some more guys that I was maybe way more wrong about here in a second. Next up, we've got Hooni for TSM. This is a guy who I had honestly no idea how to rate coming into the season. This is a guy who is a world finalist. He's won the LEC. I believe he's won the LCK as well. He has never won the LCS. He has been very, very up and down. There's been years where he's been the best top laner in the LCS, and there's been years where he's maybe been the 8th or 9th best top laner in the LCS, which is really, really crazy. And he was coming into TSM where we didn't really know how good TSM was going to be or what was going to happen with them. They obviously lost Bjergsen, lost Doublelift. They got rid of BB for a top laner that is maybe better than Broken Blade, maybe worse. People really didn't know. They signed Haunter as a backup, and some people were saying that Haunter should have been starting the season as TSM's top laner. And I didn't necessarily think that Haunter should be starting, but I was glad that they had Haunter there ready to go just in case Hooni did blow up, just in case Hooni didn't really play well with the team. But Hooni has, I think, again, just like Fate God has surprised a lot of people this season, I think Hooni has really surprised a lot of people as well. Not only with how good and consistent he has been. Has there been things he could do better? Absolutely. He has not been perfect. He has not been like an absolute monster, but he has been pretty damn good for TSM. He has done exactly what the team needs. We know that historically he's all about playing the crazy stuff, the GPs, the Rumbles, the Lucian tops, the Vayne tops, all of that stuff. But this season, he has really showed a strength in the weak side. He is playing a very, very different champion pool than Hooni is maybe used to, and it is going extremely well. TSM is slowly starting to find an identity, playing through two pretty massive carries in PoE and Lost, and having Hooni set up a lot of that. And it has been a very, very good season for TSM and for Hooni, especially coming off the lock-in tournament where TSM looked terrible, Hooni looked terrible, and people were kind of calling for Hooni to be benched and Lost to be benched and yada, yada, yada. Hooni has been good, and I think there were so many people starting on the season that were saying, why does Hooni even have a starting spot? Why would TSM go and get him? There's Impact out there. There's Licorice out there. There's Broken Blade they just got rid of. Why would they go after Hooni? And I really think that as the season's gone on, Hooni has shut a lot of those people up and proved that he does belong on a top-tier team in the LCS and that he can fit in and that he is still a very, very talented guy. And, his back was up against the wall. He talked about early on in the season how if he has a bad year, he might be done in the LCS. There's a lot of teams. He's already been on a lot of the teams, and there's a lot of fans and teams and coaches that maybe don't believe him anymore. So he needs to prove himself this year, and he was coming in motivated, and I thought that was a very, very good sign. But again, I was still just very unsure, so I had him ranked towards the bottom. I had him in the C tier just because I was, worried about a lot of these things, and I watched Hooni play last year and the year before that and the year before that, just like a lot of other people. So I was concerned, but Hooni has been very, very good this season. To me, he has been an A tier top laner. Next up, we have Fudge, who I placed in the B tier to start the season. This is a guy coming in from Academy who was probably the best player in all of Academy last year, and he was also coming into a Cloud9 team who was looking to be one of the best teams in the LCS, and I thought that was a position and a matchup that was going to do very, very well for Cloud9 again, because League of Legends is a team game, and playing on a good team can make you look better than you are, and playing on a worse team can make you look worse than you are. So I thought even if Fudge, obviously anyone coming from Academy is always a little bit of a coin flip, a little bit of a question mark. You never know how people are going to make the jump from Academy to LCS. It is a different game. You're playing against different quality of opponents at a different speed, different pressure on you. Some people make that transition very, very well and do better than even they did in Academy, and some people make that transition very, very poorly. Now, Fudge, again, started out with the lock-in tournament, not looking very good, doing very bad. Since LCS, he has then gotten better, but man, he has been so disappointing for a guy who is so hyped up, a guy who is coming in replacing Licorice, again, a guy who's coming in as the best player in Academy in the last season. He was looking to be one of the best top laners in the league. He comes in trash talking all the North American tops. North American tops don't have brains. I'm going to stomp all over them. That has not happened. Unfortunately for Cloud9, even with Cloud9 being currently the best team in the LCS record-wise, Fudge has been not good, and largely a lot of their wins are in spite of Fudge's play. A lot of the times they're having to send up a lot of resources to kind of cover a lot of Fudge's mistakes. Now, lucky for Cloud9, they have some of the best players in the league at every other position. Blabber, one of the best junglers. Perks, one of the best mid laners. Sven, one of the best AD carries. And Vulcan's one of the best supports. So even with Fudge not being very good, they're able to make him probably look, again, even a little better than he actually is. And also still have a very, very good record and have a chance to win LCS and head to MSI. Even though Fudge has really not been what a lot of people maybe expected him to be. But while he's been better since the lock-in tournament, maybe he's getting a little bit better, maybe he's getting a little bit more comfortable. He has still not been good. His laning stats are not good. He has not passed the eye test. He is clearly the weakest member of this team. And honestly, I think he is going to be what holds back Cloud9 from being able to win an LCS title, be able to go to MSI and maybe have some success. I cannot imagine Fudge against even Alfari on Team Liquid in the playoffs, let alone going to MSI and playing against other top laners in the world. It would be very, very ugly. For that reason, I am moving Fudge down into the C tier. Next up, we have Finn, and this is a guy who has had a lot of debate around the LCS recently. Just how good is he? Is CLG holding him back? How good is laning? How good is team fighting? Yada, 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 yada. And there's been a lot of craziness. And CLG has been a team that we don't really understand entirely. Now, I completely admit, Finn has been in a weird position this year. This is a team who started out with Brox as supposed to be their jungler, and then they had to play with Wiggly. And Poe Belter was supposed to be their mid laner, and then they had to play with RJS. And obviously, those two players, Wiggly and RJS, a lot of people would argue are not LCS caliber. So throwing them in, again, especially your jungler when you're a top laner, giving you a very, very subpar jungler is going to make things very, very difficult on you. And Finn is also coming from EU over to North America. He also got here late, didn't have as much time to prepare for the season as everyone else. There was a lot of stuff playing against him, but as of late, CLG has looked a lot better. They're actually winning some games all of a sudden. They're actually looking like maybe a somewhat respectable team all of a sudden. And Finn is doing much, much better in the top lane. So early on in the season, I would have had Finn probably like in the C tier. But I do think he's a very, very talented guy. I mean, that's why I have him in the B tier in the preseason. I was telling people, even though this guy didn't do great on Rogue to end the season, even though he didn't have a great summer split, summer playoffs, Worlds performance, anything, I think he was a good candidate to be able to rebound over in North America, and that maybe this would be a good chance to take some pressure off him, have him reset, have him show some stuff. Now, he is coming fresh off a loss to Golden Guardians where he kind of got clapped up by Niles, and that is not necessarily the best sign. But I am still going to be keeping Finn here in the B tier. I think he has been very, very solid. I think he is good. I think going into the summer split, he will continue to improve and look better and better. And I think CLG will as well. I think he will be a big part of their success coming up the rest of the year. Now we're getting to some of the big guys up towards the top of the list. We're in my preseason A tier where I had Impact and Licorice. First up, talking about Impact. This is a guy who, Team Liquid got rid of him because he was still very, very good for Team Liquid. And last year, I believe he led the LCS in 2020 in solo kills. But he was a guy who, Team Liquid is always putting on weak side duty. This is the guy who plays Shen. He plays tanks. And I thought that going to a team like Evil Geniuses, he would maybe not look as good. I mean, yes, Evil Geniuses was going to have some big carries, guys like Jizuke. And I wasn't completely sold on Deathly. I wasn't completely sold on how just good that team was going to be able to do. And I thought going from Team Liquid to Evil Geniuses would be a big step down for Impact. And it would maybe make him look a little bit worse. Now, actually, the complete opposite has happened. Yes, Team Liquid is still better than Evil Geniuses, and yes, it was a step down for Impact in terms of team and quality of players that he's playing with and quality of just team overall. But instead of that making him look worse, that has really made Impact step up and start carrying games and start popping off. And he has honestly been like an MVP candidate this season. If Evil Geniuses had been a little bit better in their record and been playing a little bit better as a team, I think Impact would be right there in the MVP conversation. He has been awesome. Yes, people are going to say he's a Renekton one trick, that he's just carrying games on Renekton, but yes, he has been carrying games on Renekton. He has been a beast. He has been a large part in so many of Evil Geniuses' wins. And I really think without him, Evil Geniuses would not even be able to be in the position that they are right now. I mean, a lot of their members have been inconsistent and not always showing up. But man, Impact has been there for most of their big games, for most of their big wins. He has been so consistent. So even though I was definitely wrong about him as an A-tier top laner in the preseason, I'm now moving him up into the S tier. Now, this is maybe the guy that maybe I wasn't the most wrong about, but we're talking about Licorice next, who this is a guy who, he was on Cloud9 for a couple of years. He had very, very good years, and he maybe didn't have the best summer split, didn't have the best end of the year. Summer playoffs, Cloud9 all kind of faltered out and didn't look that great. But this is a guy who people would probably say was an S-tier top laner most years. But again, this is a guy who's going from Cloud9, one of the best teams, to FlyQuest, who a lot of people thought was going to be a good team during the preseason. Obviously, that was wrong. They are just kind of a middle of the pack to below average team in the LCS. But I knew that would be a step down for Licorice, so that's kind of why I had him in the A tier. I thought he was a very, very talented guy, but I thought he would struggle to look good on a worse team in FlyQuest. That's a pretty common theme for my tier list and everything, that I do think team play really affects the individual players. And I think we see that time and time again. But not Impact, Licorice has not been very good on FlyQuest. FlyQuest has not been good, and it's not like Licorice is carrying games and they're holding him back or anything. They have not been good, and Licorice has not been good either. He has one of the worst laning phases of all top laners in the LCS, when this is a guy who had kind of been known as like a lane dominant player previously. He has lost all that. He makes weird map plays. Maybe there is a shock to him going to a way different team, and a lot of things have gone wrong. Maybe he's uncomfortable in his new environment, or maybe he disagrees with how the team wants to play, blah, 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 blah. There's a million mistakes you could make, but the fact of the matter is that Licorice has not been good this season. He has not been an A-tier top laner. He has not been a B-tier top laner. To me, this guy has been a C-tier top laner. He has bad stats. He has bad performances. He's not passing the eye test for me. And honestly, I think it's really, really sad to see, because this guy was one of the most, just one of the best North American talents that we had. I mean, this guy was a homegrown player that was doing big things for Cloud9, and now he just really looks like a shell of himself. I hope he can bounce back in the summer split or something, because he is a guy that, as North American fans, as LCS fans, we want to see do well. We obviously want our resident players to do good, but he is not cutting it right now, and it is really, really disappointing to see, because again, this is a guy who was one of the best top laners, if not the best top laner in the league over the last couple of years in the LCS, and he's not that right now. Next up, the last guy we have is Someday, who was an S-tier top laner for me coming into the year. Last year on 100 Thieves, he had kind of a weird season where they always had weird drafts, and 100 Thieves wasn't that good, but it seemed like Someday was still doing really, really good, even on a bad team. And I was so excited for Someday coming into this year, because 100 Thieves obviously leveled up huge. They got the Golden Guardian roster. They had Closer as their jungler now, FBI in the bot lane, Hooni, Demonte. It looked like they were going to be so good, and it looked like they were really going to enable to Someday to just be an absolutely massive carry and play around him really, really well, especially with the supportive style mid laner in Demonte. But that has happened sometimes, but obviously over the course of the season, 100 Thieves has been very, very inconsistent. Demonte's not even in the lineup anymore. They've had weeks where they're really, really good, and they have weeks where they're really, really bad, losing random games to random teams that they really have no business doing, because at the end of the day, this 100 Thieves team is still very, very talented, and they should be better than probably their record is right now. They had a very, very good lock-in tournament, but the LCS season has not really been kind to them, and they're going into the playoffs with very little to no momentum. And I'm not going to say it's all Someday's fault. I'm not going to say it's a large part of Someday's fault. I think he has been good, but I don't think he's been an S-tier top laner. I definitely am going to be moving him down into the A-tier. He has one of the lowest KDAs in the LCS. He has low KP. He kind of is doing what the team needs him to do. They're still drafting him a lot of weak side, and he's just kind of existing, and during their wins, he looks really solid, and during their losses, he's not really creating or trying to make anything happen. But I do think he's a really, really talented guy still, and if he does have a nice rebound and a nice playoffs, or even is able to come back for the summer split looking better than ever, I would not be surprised at all. But I have been just a little bit disappointed in Someday. Now, Someday's a hard guy to rate. Some people have him as low as like B tier in this type of range, but I do think he is still better than a Finn. I think he's better than a Fate God. I'm not going to put him in that tier. I'm not going to put him lower than them, but I do think Someday needs to be better. I think all of 100 Thieves should be better, and if they keep looking at how they're doing, then that's just kind of disappointing, because their team is really more talented than that. But there it is, boys. This is my post-regular season, pre-playoffs LCS top laner tier list. Me ranking every single starting top laner in the LCS 1 through 10, S through F, giving my thoughts and opinions on every single player. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed the video. I would appreciate it so much. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Leave a comment down below. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? What does your tier list look like heading into the playoffs? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on any of the players that we covered in today's video. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!